Hey guys, and welcome to a new bookish wrap up. If I'm looking here during this video, don't mind it. It's because I have my notes about all the books that I've read right over there, and I'm obviously here today with my beautiful matcha. Mm-hmm. It just hits the spot. I had promised after my last wrap up video that I would do a better angle, so hopefully this angle is a bit better. I'm a bit more further away, but I feel like at least we have my bookshelves as background. I'll be holding the mic in my hand during the video because I'm scared if I'm gonna clip it, maybe you guys won't hear me as well. So yeah, welcome back to this new video. February was a pretty short month and I actually had my exam, but surprisingly I read like 5 books. So I would say it's a pretty decent amount of books for this month. We're gonna start with our first book of the month, which is a book that I really finished like beginning of February. It's A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is the final book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. This was unsurprisingly a 5 stars for me. If you watched my January wrap up video, you will see that I loved the first 2 books. And this one I loved it just as much. Though I do think that my favorite book in the whole series is actually the second one. Like a lot of other people, I just love the second book, honestly. If I were to summarize, I won't summarize this third book because if you haven't read the first and the second one, you will be spoiled. But in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, we follow our main female character, Evangeline, and our main male character, Jax. I'm not gonna re-give a whole synopsis of this book again. If you want to check out my synopsis on What's Been a Broken Heart, you can go check out my January wrap up video, which will be right here or here. I'm never sure. But this is obviously a slow burn YA romantasy. It really is YA. Like there's no smarts. I mean, not that I remember of, at least. And yeah, it's a YA, but I felt like it didn't read too YA. I've heard some people saying that they did feel like it read really YA. Personally, for me, I loved it. I loved it so much. I have pre-ordered the special edition of it that's coming out in October. I am gonna pre-order these mirror endings. I can't remember the name because I'm so excited for it. I've also bought a special edition of Once Upon a Broken Heart from Heirloom Editions. It's stunning. It's gonna arrive, I think, in April, May, probably. I can't remember, but here's a photo of it. I just could not buy it. The fan art, everything. My dream is also to buy the ACOTAR editions from that, especially since ACOTAR 6 and 7 release date was out. I'm so excited for that. Can we take an apartheid? I cannot wait for that. So watch me do a vlog for a reread of ACOTAR so that I can finally read a quote of Silver Flames and A Throne of Glass and Crescent City. But let's come back to the subject about this book, my review. What I really like about this one is that we had more POVs compared to the first 2 other books. So we had Jack's POV, we had Evangeline, and we had Apollo. But there was way too many Apollo. Oh, the thing is, I actually liked Apollo in the first and second book. Like I wasn't rooting for him as, the main male character, but I still liked him. In this one, oh god, he just made himself. At the beginning, I was like, okay, no, I can maybe forgive some things, but towards the end, I was just like, can you just go away? Like seriously. Spoiler right now, spoiler review. I think the only part of this book, like I said, that frustrated me was seeing so much of Apollo and Evangeline together. Like, no, I was like, this was supposed to be Jack and Evangeline, that's why I was so excited that the novella got announced, because I feel like Evangeline and Jack get together really at like the last page. Apparently there's like some alternate epilogues that were published in different versions. I need to search those up online because I need more Evangeline and Jack's just being happily together. I think this is the reason why the second book was really my favorite, because it's that whole moment in the hollow where they're just happily together, and that's just all I want. I feel like that's my only complaint about the book, is that we never had someone with just some of them just happy, you know. But thankfully for the novella is going to come solve that. But I would say that's kind of the only frustrating thing, but it was just so nice to see eventually and kind of like falling over and over and over again. I feel like I hate but I love that trope at the same time. I hate it but I love the erasing memory trope. I'm talking about you, Shatter Me. um but yeah, it was so sweet. And I love discovering this new side of Jack, just like down bad for Evangeline. And the plot twist at the end was really nice. So obviously five stars. And as you know, this whole series for me is a 5-star series. I mean, I give each book 5 stars, and it's just a top tier series for me, simply because I just love the universe. I love the characters, and I feel like it's rare for me to give an overall series like only for a very short series to be one of my favorites, because I tend to love really long series like Akatar or Shadowme, especially Akatar, because the books are so big and there's so many books. I feel like you just have more time with the characters and you get to know them better, and therefore even though the individual books aren't 5 stars, it is a 5 star series for me, because you know you get attached to the characters and they feel like family. And so I wasn't sure if this whole series was maybe going to be one of my favorite series, seeing that the books are so short. But I just grew attached to all the characters. I want a chaos novella. I want everything. Like just, I just love that universe so much. I cannot recommend it enough. Second book I read was Spiral, which is Of the Eye's second book. I was really excited to read this one. I read the first book, Collide, quite a while ago. It was just a college romance, and I did expect this one to be a college romance, but it wasn't, which I was surprised, pleasantly surprised. But I actually gave it a 3.75. So obviously this is the second book. I didn't have like any expectation concerning like our main male character, because I kind of forgot who the other characters in the series were. But I did enjoy the first book a lot. Like it wasn't anything groundbreaking, but you know, it was an enjoyable series. And it was on sale on my Kindle. So I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to buy it. It's a ballerina, hockey player, romance. I feel like it's just gonna hit the spot, you know. This is actually our fake dating trope. So we have our main male character. I cannot tell you his name, so we're just gonna call him the main male character, who is on his rookie season. He's going through his rookie season as a hockey player in the NHL, but his rookie season isn't going well. Like he hasn't scored one single goal, and everyone is kind of blaming it on the fact that he's a player. But at least that's how he's portrayed by the media. But he actually isn't a player. He doesn't go fooling around either. So he kind of has his manager that's like the coach and the team's manager telling him like, you gotta wake up, like you gotta get your act together, you gotta score, or else we might get like trade you off, or like you might be out, you know. On the other side, we have our female male character who is, I believe she's the niece of our main male character's team's manager, and she's a ballerina and she wants to audition and gets this part at this really big ballet company's annual Swan Lake representation. And she's pretty good, but once she goes to the audition, she kind of learns that it seems like they are only casting very popular ballerinas that have like a platform and that are influential for the big roles. But yeah, I'm not gonna explain the how and the why, but our two main characters end up kind of like striking a deal and pretend that they're fake dating so that she can gain popularity and therefore have chances at getting that principal role in Swan Lake, and so that he doesn't have press just running after him and he can really concentrate on his rookie season and finally getting better. What I liked about this book, I felt like the characters was really refreshing. We have an FMC that is like so bold. She makes like a lot of dirty jokes, um, very outwardly flirting with the main male character, which I think is often the opposite. Like when often there's a fake dating trope, it's kind of like the girl that's like telling the guy like no, 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 and the guy's flirting with her. Here really is the opposite. Like she's like always kind of like trying to flirt with him and all that. And I felt like that was really refreshing. And we have a main male character that's actually really shy, really like, you know. So I felt that was really refreshing to kind of see like the roles reversed. Like that was really nice. I like having a bit more of a bold, flirty male character. I feel like it switched things up. I don't want all my female characters to be exactly the same, you know. The reason why I actually didn't give it a higher rating than this is because the story was fun, granted, but I wasn't that attached to the characters. The characters, I don't want to say they lack depth, but I don't know. I felt like there wasn't any real connection. Like we were told that there was a connection, but I couldn't really see it. I don't know. I just didn't feel the chemistry, and it did feel like it felt like there wasn't that much involvement. I don't know. Yep. I feel like the story was fun, but I wasn't that attached to the characters, and for me, that's something that's really important, especially when it comes to romance. You know, because the main plot of the book is the characters. So yeah. And we read the Zodiac Academy second and third book, so it's Ruthless Fate and then The Reckoning. So I read the first book of Zodiac Academy, I think around December, and I gave it a 2.5. I was so underwhelmed by that book. I had a really hard time going through it, and I was like, I started as like a buddy read with my best friend, and I was like, there's no, I'm not going to continue the series. Like this, getting through this was a pain. I don't like any of the main male characters. Like I'm not attached to the main female to the female characters either. So I was like, I don't know. But my friend continued the series, and she was like, Helen, you just gotta read it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started off with Ruthless Fate, and I gave it a 3.75. I felt like I really liked that book. It was really given like revenge. Like, and I love that. I love the whole revenge plot of this one. And wait, was it? Now I'm blurring. I can't distinguish what happened between the second and the third one. Um, Wait a minute. Okay, yeah, I think I remember now. I gave it a 4 stars. It was way more fun. And but before we get as to why, let me give you guys a synopsis of Zodiac Academy. I'm going to completely read this off because I do not know how to explain this book very clearly. So I'm just gonna read it. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be facing you guys. So I said this is kind of in like a uni setting because Zodiac Academy is like a university for Fae. And just to put it plainly, it's organized by it has okay. Anytime I try to explain this book, it's like I feel like the authors took like all the possible magic and tropes and just put it in this book. But every fae has elemental magic, so you can get either fire, earth, water, or air magic. 2, 3, 4 more. The more you have, the more powerful you are. Everyone also has this. Also, very much this zodiac relation to things. So you know, depending on your astrological sign, you're gonna get your fate can be read or things like that anyways. And then you also have your orders, so that means it's like you can transform into something else. It can be anything like dragon, werewolves, mermaid. And then your order determines you have like kind of special powers linked to your order. There's some orders that are more powerful than others, that are like higher in the food chain if you want. And each order has different way of like replenishing, wow, I cannot speak anymore, of like getting your energy back. For example, vampires, to like get their magic back, to like, you know, charge their battery, if I may, they gotta drink blood. Dragons, they gotta touch gold, things like that. Mermaids, they gotta feed on other people's emotion. You know, you get the deal. So yeah, that's the uni setting. So we follow our 2 female main characters, and they're twins who grew up in the mortal world. But then at the beginning, they discover that they're actually fays, and not only are they fays, but they're actually the princesses of the deceased king and queen. Yeah, just the first book is really just bombs of information just dropping, just learning that our female men, do you know how when you're little and you imagine those scenarios and you're like playing with your siblings like mermaids or whatever, and you give yourself all the powers in the world, like I'm a lost princess and I'm also, I have all that magic and I have this and I have this. This is really what our female main character were giving, which I was kind of like ugh, but then actually I'm kind of vibing with it. Okay, so then they're kind of like, we don't want to return to the blah blah, and then like they're told well, listen, you don't have, because they're like, we don't want to become queens, like the fuck. Um, but they do, what they do want though is their inheritance. But in order to get their inheritance, they have to graduate from that uni. So they're like, okay, we're gonna go to this uni, but we just want our inheritance, and then we're out. We're living our own lives. And when they arrive to the academy, they meet the heirs. So those are our four main male characters. I'm gonna call them main male characters. There's then another main male character that arrives, but I'm not spoiling it for you guys. Though you do kind of figure it out in the first book. So who are the heirs? I'm describing this. I had such a hard time writing the synopsis for this, you guys. So I'm trying my best here. The heirs, they're the sons of the counselors who took the power who took over ruling the country when the king and queen died. So they were counselors, but now they're like the ones who are reigning over the country. And so therefore the heirs are kind of like all their life they were educated and they grew up to be told, well, you guys have to be on top because you're the ones who are going to be ruling over the country afterwards, after their parents. But then suddenly our main girl comes back and there's a bunch of people who are like, well, these are the true heirs, not you guys. We thought the king and queen's daughters were dead. Those weren't real daughters, they were human, they switched at birth. And they're like, well, we want them. So there's like a rivalry that happens between the heirs and the girls, except that the girls are kind of like, we don't want this rivalry because we don't want the throne, like we just want our money. But the heirs are like, well, you can say whatever you want, but the way of fate is we always end up wanting to be the most powerful. So you're saying that now, who tells us that in a year you're not going to want the throne? So the heirs are constantly trying in the first book to destroy the girls when, like, they want them to leave the academy, but the girls are like, no, we're staying. Like, well, we're not gonna leave the school because then we don't have our inheritance, pretty much. So the first book is pretty much just the heirs trying to make the Vegas twins leave, and then the second book is very much like the girls who are like, well, if you're gonna piss us off that much, like maybe we should just take over the throne, and then they get their revenge. So that's kind of the vibe. I said, book two was definitely revenge books, like I said, which was so refreshing. I felt like seeing the girls get back at the boys was like, and we have one of the twins' romance that is evolving in that one. I felt kind of iffy about that romance at first. I'm not down bad for them. And I really like this book because I feel like the pacing was really quicker. If you had a hard time through the first book, just tell yourself it gets better. I feel like the first book is really slow because we have to set up everything up and all that. And in the first book, I really detested the heirs. And I was like, I don't see how the authors are going to make me like them. I don't see how it's humanly possible for me to like them. Second book, I was like, I'm kind of warming up to them, but I don't like them either. But third book, I definitely do like some of them. For now, I am liking Caleb, but my friend told me, Helene, don't speak too fast. I'm currently on book 5. Dargis, I do like him. Max, I don't have any feelings. Seth, I don't know. I feel like Max and Seth are my least favorites. But yeah, and book three was also so much fun. We get way more POVs in book 3, and I feel like we also get to know these side characters a lot more, which is so fun. Like Geraldine, my girl, I love her. We have more characters that appear, and I'm really liking it. But I actually want to say something. I probably will talk about this in my March reading wrap up. But I finished book 4 and I instantly picked up book 5. And actually, I shouldn't have done that. So I stopped my book 5 reading. I was like at 10% to read another book because I feel like those books are good, but they can get a bit repetitive if you read them like all one after the other. Like, you kind of get sick of the kind of like push and pull dynamic. But anyways, yeah, that's my opinion on it. But it was a really fun time. And what I said about book 3 was that, okay, no, and in general, I'm not gonna go saying that this is my fave fantasy series. Like, very far from. I'm not that attached to the characters. I'm not like crying when anything happens to them. And it kind of seems very predictable. Maybe at the time where it was written, it wasn't predictable, but now having read lots of fantasies and all that, the plot twists are pretty predictable. The endings are pretty predictable. I have predicted pretty much every plot twist and ending that happens in it, but it's still fun to see how they go about happening. But yeah, it's nothing too crazy, but it's a really fun time and it's mostly entertaining for sure. But the books are getting really long and the chapters are getting longer, which I'm like, that's anyways. But yeah. And then the last book this month was a reread of The Deal by Elle Kennedy. So I read The Deal, like the off campus series, about 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say. And I enjoyed it so much. At the time, I gave like pretty much every book between a 4.5 and a 5 stars. I'm sorry, the rating won't be like that this time around. But yeah, I was books I really enjoyed. And when they announced the Prime TV show, I was like, okay, I gotta reread it. And I've never read like all the spin-off series like Briar You and all that. And Love Song is coming out this month as well that I really want to read. So I told myself, okay, let's give ourselves a little reread of Off Campus, finally read the spin-off series. So I started off with The Deal. I actually gave it a 4.25, which I think is a pretty decent rating. So obviously, I know probably all of you know about The Deal, but let's give it a quick synopsis just in case. I need some more march help, by the way, because the Zodiac Academy synopsis was a tough one to explain. I tried my best, y'all, so forgive me. Okay. Basically, Off Campus series is an interconnected hockey college hockey college. Okay, yeah, college hockey interconnected romance series. Um, so this first book is about Garrett and Hannah. To put it plainly, this is another fake dating trope. Um, Garrett is obviously playing for the uni hockey team, but he needs to keep his grade up. And their philosophy teacher, like last minute, they switched up. It's a new teacher, and he is getting horrible grades. Everyone is getting horrible grades except for our Hannah girl, who is getting like A minus, A. Well, everyone is getting like C's and E's and D's. And so Garrett is kind of like, oh my god, I need that girl to tutor me because I cannot fail this class, or else I'm gonna be kicked out of the hockey team. I'm not gonna be allowed to play, and that can't be happening. Like this is an important year. That can't be happening. So he tries to convince Hannah to tutor him. And she's kind of like, you jerk, I never spoke to you ever before. Why? Why would I say yes? I've got other things to deal with. But in the end they strike a deal. Well, the book is called The Deal. Like a deal is that pretty much Garrett is like, okay, in return for you tutoring me, I can see that you're like eyeing that football dude over there. And he's like, I know exactly what kind of guy he is. He's the kind of guy that's only going to go after you if you seem like desired. So, what I suggest is that in return for tutoring me, we make it seem like we're kind of together, like we go to parties together, like not saying that they're in a relationship, but that they're seeing each other so that she can appear more desirable. And then we know the shenanigans, we know how fake dating goes. Okay, so the rest is just, yeah. Honestly, I had such a fun time reconnecting and rereading about all these characters. I think my favorite part about The Deal, and that's the part that I love about interconnected series, is like having all those side characters, and you feel like there's like a found family kind of trope, and I really loved it. I love the dynamic between the hockey guys, um, and I just love the dynamic that Hannah has with the other members of the hockey team. I just love them. I just love the characters. I feel like they're so sweet. Now about my rating, why did I give it a 4.25 and not higher? I get it for 4.25 because there's nothing about it that I would change. And there's nothing about it that I personally dislike. Like there's nothing while I was reading that I was like, I don't really like that. I would switch that. For example, that those are feelings that I had when I was reading Spiral. I didn't have any of those. I feel like there's nothing I would change. But for some reason I wasn't like crazy about the characters either. So that's why it's a 4.25. I had such a fun time. Nothing that I would change about it. These books make me laugh a lot more than being like down bad for the main male characters or for their dynamic. It makes me laugh a lot because I feel like the characters are so funny and I love the references and all that. So I feel like, yeah, I had a really fun time reading it, but I wasn't like, I'm not like obsessed about the couple either or about the characters. And also I think one of the reasons why I'm rating this lower than the first time I read it. Firstly, the first time I read it was when I was just getting out of my reading slump, and I was kind of discovering the hockey romance series. I think this is like one of the first hockey romance series I read, if not the first hockey college romance, at least. And so obviously it felt new, it felt like refreshing. So that's why it had ooh la la. That's why I give it such a high rating. But now I've read so many other romance, so and I feel like with time I'm liking less and less hockey college romance. Like I'm liking them, but I don't give them as high rating as just other romances where they're in the NHL, for example, like Mile High or DC Stars. So I would say that that's probably why, but I still had such a fun time. And I'm currently reading The Score right now. I'm at The Score, which is one of my favorite books. I just love Dean and Hallie. So yeah. In case that's the end of this video. I hope the video was more structured and that my synopsis made sense because I spent time writing the synopsis and writing down my thoughts. So I'm sorry if I'm kind of looking sometimes at my computer, but I'd rather be looking at my computer and conveying my thoughts clearly than forgetting things and me being not clear by looking at the camera. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what are the books that you guys read in February and what books you want to read in March, hopefully. I'm really excited for this month of March. So many fun releases came out. I think March is going to be it's going to be a month that's going to be full of rereads, which I'm absolutely not against. I love rereading books. So I'm really excited about that. Like I said, once again, thank you for tagging along. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. I'm trying to post more consistently. So far, it has been going well. And I'm excited to come back to you guys with more reading vlogs and just studying vlogs. And if you have any kind of video ideas, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd love to do that. So thank you so much for tagging along. It means a lot to me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.